I don't know if I've even mentioned it to you guys at all. The app got approved.
Is it this?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It is that one. Exactly.
Dude, look at that. You've got...
Oh, Laravel.
This is so cool right now.
Yeah.
I don't need to use Twitter anymore. Shane, read me my messages.
It's the Shane. It's a shitter.
Perfect. I'll use it in the morning.
That's it. That's it. Your daily dump from shitter.
Hello.
Bonjour.
We're back.
We're in the
It's been
bucket.
a little while.
We are
And only part of the band is here. We're waiting for Simon to come in.
The bass
I
player.
guess coffee is just more important than the podcast. So
Spanish coffee. I'm not sure.
we'll see if he can tell us why he's not showing up on time. But for the meantime, the two most important members are here.
That's right.
There's a big wink for our audio listeners there. But yeah, Shane, it's been a couple weeks since we did this. How are things going?
It's been some time. How are things going? Great. I feel good. All right. So let's just start with that. I feel, I don't know. It's like the moon's in a different phase or something for me. And it's not like things felt bad, I guess, before. I don't know. I feel really optimistic. I feel like I've been focusing on... All right, so I'll rewind just a little bit. For those that don't know, I've been going through a divorce process. In where I live, there's like a 1-year separation that's required in order to even file the paperwork for that. And we're beyond the 1-year separation. In this year, I have focused a lot on observing my own thoughts and behaviors and really analyzing them more objectively instead of just defending what I do just to say that this is how I do the things that I do, etc. And that opens up a lot of different possible doors that you can go down just as a human. And I've gone through a lot of these doors to see, well, what other versions could my life look like? And it's kind of scary because the things that have held me together for a long time, more than half my life, are gone in some ways. But it also helps me to realize that I need to strengthen my own muscles of who I am in certain ways. So all that to say, and that's pretty abstract, but I think I said it well enough to relay the next part of this, which is kind of just focusing on, it sounds almost selfish, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like just focusing on the things that excite me, the things that make me happy, the things that, and like really trying to define where my joy comes from and what makes me feel peaceful and what makes me feel good about who I am and optimistic and all that. And I've been practicing that and getting, it's a lot of process. And I don't think anybody, if you ever go down this road yourself, will ever get to the end of that. And I think that's the whole point. That's kind of what I've been realizing a lot lately. It's, my dad and I have talked about this a bit recently too, but it's the journey. It's not the destination. And if you're always focused on the destination, before you know it, you'll end up at the ultimate destination on your deathbed, hopefully. I mean, I say that because it's like, you don't want to die in, bad timing, but in an accident or something like that, like to live to be an old man or whatever. But you'll be at the final destination and your whole life will have gone by without you really enjoying taking time to smell the daisies, so to speak, or drink the coffee, or go for a walk and just feel the sun on your skin, etc. So I think that as a father, as a husband, as a provider for people that are constantly depending on me, that I've taken myself for granted in a lot of ways and prioritized other people's joy and happiness over my own. And it kind of can feel, again, a little selfish at first to say, I'm going to do this because I want to. I'm going to do, and that's kind of been like, but that inhibits you. It keeps you from being able to actually be fully there for the people that you are trying to provide for, that you're trying to love, that you're trying to care for. Because if you can't be there for yourself, then can you be there for others? You know? Do we got a guest speaker today? No way.
If you could say hi really quick.
Ollie, can you hear me? No, you definitely can't now. So I'll just host this. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Shane Show, The Bucket. It's my mini show inside of the bigger show where I talk all about aliens and UFOs and politics. I'm just kidding. But for real, it's been a journey. It's been interesting to observe there you are. Hey, he's back. All right. I don't have to just talk to the listeners on my own.
The joys of recording from home while your baby is here.
That's right. So, all that to say, it's been, today I feel great. Today I feel good. And right now I feel optimistic. I have some cool things I'm working on and working towards, we'll talk about in a little bit. And, yeah. How about you? That was a long answer.
That's awesome. It was a long answer. And I can actually touch on it a little bit. Because I won't say I've been like working on a similar thing, but in the back of my mind, I've kind of been thinking about it a little bit. And I'll just mention, like, at least for me, one of the best outcomes of trying to focus on your personal happiness a little bit, which can sound selfish, is that when you do that and also keep in mind everyone else around you, like the best thing is whenever you can seek your own personal happiness and it just so happens that results in everyone else being happy around you as well. Right? It's like you find the center of the Venn diagram where everybody's like priorities and what gives them enjoyment kind of all can find this bit of compromise, but center point where everybody is ultimately more happy, even though you can focus on.
I'm not sure if that's where I was or I just haven't gotten there yet, being totally honest. I feel like going into it without any expectation of outcome or desire, even for a positive outcome, has opened up more possibilities for me. I think that's kind of what I was always doing, like trying to find where I can balance being the things that I want and also making sure everybody around me is okay. In letting go of all, some, if not all of that, I found different depths of, not to sound cliche, but freedom, I guess. But again, it's a scary freedom. That's why I say, I don't know if that's really, I don't know. It's fun though. You give me 3 cups of coffee before 9 o'clock in the morning. This is the kind of stuff you're going to get. So it's good coffee.
We're getting super deep here.
Yeah, man. Really
super
fast.
Deep.
Really
man.
fast.
Any like work updates or anything like that?
Not work. So I spoke at PHP Upstate, where we met. That was fun. So for those that don't know, I live near Charlotte, North Carolina. Look it up. If you don't know where it is, some people, I've noticed like a lot of people outside of the US are like, it's over there somewhere, you know? But either way, it was a couple-hour drive to get to Greenville, South Carolina. And quarterly, they do a PHP meetup hosted by Bogdan Karchenko, I believe his name is.
Yes,
pronounced.
good job.
And Jason Beggs is a regular there. We had Matt Stauffer came up from Atlanta as well this time, who's a frequent speaker at Laracons and owner of Titan. And there's some Eric Barnes of Laravel News. He lives not far. He's kind of halfway between there and here. So there's some notables, but there's only like 15 people that showed up. So it's really cool that there's 15 people show up and 5 of them have spoken, or they're like directly, related or working with Laravel core to some degree, right? The core of the community. But I spoke about, and I got permission from Simon to do a quick demo of PHP on iOS. And that's what he'll be talking about. I will make sure he talks about, because our good old Simon, attaboy Simon, is talking on Monday. Actually, around the same time that this is going to be airing, this episode, he'll be talking on stage at Laracon.
Oh, yes. The schedules are out.
I think he's speaking, so right after lunch on Monday. I think he said Monday.
Okay.
Right after lunch Monday, Aaron Francis, and then him. So I think that's that's what he said. It's like
not sure I don't want to go right after Aaron, but hey, it's a privilege to be speaking at all. So Pony up.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see. And I'm excited about everything that he's done so far on this PHP on iOS, and he'll go into more depths. He's been teasing a lot, so I'm not going to say anything that I don't think I even know anything that he hasn't teased already. So have you had a chance to play with it?
I haven't.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
That is sad. I'm kind of sad actually about that.
Yeah. Well, and I think to really play with it, I'd have to set up an Apple developer account and do stuff with an iPhone device. I suppose I could use my actual phone. Would that even be smart? I mean, we have like an old iPhone laying around. I suppose I could use.
I use my phone.
I don't know. It was just
not a big deal.
With everything else that's going on right now. I was like, I will happily observe the wizardry that Simon and you are crafting in relation to that. But it was going to take too long for me to figure out how to get that going. So
I spent quite a bit of time working on this trivia app. So Simon built a trivia app, and this is kind of where my involvement came into it. He built an app that in Laravel with Flux, Livewire, it's all Livewire. And as soon as the app loaded, it would hit this third-party API to pull in a bunch of questions and the answers to those questions so that they're on the device so that you can go through and guess or know, whatever, multiple choice trivia questions and get through that process. The problem with the third-party API is that it was throttled extremely, and so it would like try and just repeat the tries, the HTTP request, and it would just take so long to do it. I was like, why don't we just make an API endpoint of our own, seed it with these questions and answers on a database? And I was like, hey, we could ask somebody that we both know if he can get access to Laravel Cloud. And so I asked him. Within a couple hours he had access to Cloud, and I was like, sweet. And he invited me in, and I put the script together that would go off to the third-party API, suck in 100 questions with all the answers. Now we have our own API, and we can serve it lightning fast to all the apps that are going to be using this, or the one app or the one. So just to make that process easier. Well, I had AI write the script. I'm sure I can hear Craig laughing at me now because I did some AI stuff with some work for him the other day that screwed things up too. But this script, I was like, hey, rewrite this so that it's better. And I just copied and pasted it. I tried it locally. It worked okay. But I would like Control C the script after it sucked in a few questions. I never let it complete on my computer. So when we pushed it, in Cloud, you had the only way that you could seed the database or run a command was on deployment. So it would run on deployment, but it hung, and it didn't, like, AI messed it up. and it just sat there and it hung and it hung and it hung for like hours. And I was like, oh, this sucks. So Simon and I'm like, oh man, I broke Taylor's new cloud thingy. You know, like I literally broke cloud with a script. Well, we talked to the powers that be. They stopped the process, and we fixed the script. And within a couple of days, they had it so that you can just run commands ad hoc. So more of like what you can do on Forge, you can now do. I kind of feel partially to blame / responsible for making sure that commands, like you could one-off commands, can be run now in cloud. But it was an interesting experience. I thought Taylor was going to yell at me, even though I don't ever talk to him. That'd be kind of funny.
I mean, it's not like you actually broke anything, right?
Well,
they're using, like I don't know the exact setup, but I'm assuming it's Kubernetes-like, and so your particular little Docker instance would.
No, it didn't break this for anything else.
Is fine.
Yeah, that's correct, and it is Kubernetes in the from my understanding in my talks with the people there. But it was
still
fun.
like an interesting, like. Hey guys, I broke something, which also means I'd like a feature.
Well, and it was like, hey, dude, can we get access to this? And they're like, oh, this is because he's talking at Laracon. He's doing something that would be a great way to showcase cloud. And then within 10 minutes, he invites me in, and I'm like, sweet. And my first thing is like, hey, let's deploy this. And then it's
do an infinite loop.
Like, hi.
That's funny. What would have been really funny is if they did have like something set up with cloud where they're like I think at one point they were going to be doing like elastic resource management, right? So almost like monitoring, ooh, hey, this app and its nodes are getting super overloaded. We need to spawn new nodes. And so it would have been funny if you had just like cascaded like a chain reaction of these crazy node productions.
No.
Then you would have truly broken cloud.
That would have sucked. Well, or like Simon, because it was Simon's account, he just gets his bill for $12,000 or something.
Yeah. Darn.
I wonder too. I don't know if that's something that I'm sure they thought of that. Like, what if, because I've had issues. I had somebody hack my AWS account years and years and years ago, and they just created like 15 M5 large just for like 12 hours or something. They were up and running, and it cost like $3,000.
Bitcoin mining.
It could have been. It was like 2015 or something. It was a long time ago, but. I mean, Bitcoin was out. It could have been
anything.
I don't know what they were doing, but it was like a $3,000 bill. And I was like, I am not paying for this. And they didn't charge me. AWS, they were like, if you can prove X, Y, and Z, like, make sure all of your keys are locked down, put MFA on your device and whatever it is, like all these different things, change your root password or don't even have a root password and stuff like that. So I wonder what if somebody somehow gets access to my cloud API credentials and they create this process, because it is my account, but it's using Laravel's account behind the scenes. Like Laravel's the one interfacing directly. I'm not creating my own AWS account. It's their AWS account, right? Yeah. So if there's a runaway process that's going to incur thousands of dollars in charges, whether it's accidental or malicious intent, am I going to be responsible for that? And I guess it depends if Laravel can recoup that from AWS and prove somehow, you know what I mean? Like that's a little bit of liability on their side. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's been a lot around this with Vercel because there was quite a few, people, I've seen two things. One, people getting DDoSed. So it's like, I mean, that's always a problem it could be a problem with any publicly accessible resource. It's like, what do you do there? And like as a responsible app manager, you should try to have firewalls in place and blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, like it's still possible. And then the other thing, and so at that point, like who's paying when you get DDoSed? Probably the owner of the app. And then two, you'll get like these people making these little hobby apps on Vercel, and then all of a sudden they go viral. And so they go from 10 requests a day to 10 million. And they're like, oh crap. And Vercel, at least initially, they were getting a huge amount of flack because there wasn't like rules that you could kind of put in place to say, hey, don't let my app go to be $100,000 bill before I have any input. And so I would assume at least either, at launch or shortly after, hopefully, the crew at Laravel will have things in place where you could kind of be like, you know what? In fact, I even think we saw what ultimately would be a result of this whenever Taylor was demoing Cloud at Laracon, where you could tell Cloud, hey, I do want elastic resource management, but the maximum amount of containers I want you to be running is X. And so at that point, you kind of know, okay, if I get flooded, right, my bill will jump up, but it's not going to be 1,000x what I'm expecting.
Right.
Or something like that. So even something that simple. Whereas Vercel, it was just like, I didn't think there were necessarily controls, at least not that were on by default. It's truly serverless, so it would just go absolutely bananas. And yeah. It's the same thing like Jack Ellis has some good articles on this with getting
Vapor.
like DDoS with Vapor.
Mm-hmm.
And so, whenever you bump up your AWS Lambda limit to like 30,000, 50,000 concurrent functions, you can get really expensive really quickly if you get DDoS with that.
It could be a good problem. It could be a horrible problem.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that would have been one of the first hurdles to even deciding to build cloud for Taylor, Laravel team, etc. It's crazy now. It's not just Taylor. It is the Laravel team.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And a big team at that.
Yeah.
So,
and they're hiring. We'll put links. They're still hiring people. So if you're looking for work, they just posted something the other day. There's a few positions in the US and several in EU they're hiring for. We'll put a link up.
That's awesome.
So what have you been up to?
Oh, okay. So where to begin? When was our last episode? Was it 2 weeks ago? Oh my God.
It feels like Thanksgiving or something.
Let me go check Apple Podcasts real quick. Okay, so I think since the last episode, I have officially begun working part-time with the guys over at Thunk.
Nice.
So John Drexler in particular, because I am helping him with product management work. And yeah, that started not this most recent Monday, but the Monday before. So I guess we're coming up on 2 weeks.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And it's been a bit of a whirlwind time because, like Simon, John is extremely busy preparing for a talk at Laracon. And the whole reason he was looking to find somebody to help him is because he was getting a new client. And so, literally the 2 weeks that I'm like trying to get into the company to help him, he's like onboarding with a new client. He's trying to wrap up everything for his Laracon talk. And so it's just difficult because like I can't really help him unless he helps me learn, right? Have enough context to be pretty autonomous. And like that's where we need to get, but that just requires his time. He doesn't have any of that right now. So it's a little bit of this,
It's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah, and like we had a quick little chat about it, I think Wednesday or something, and I just wanted to acknowledge, like, clearly you're extremely busy, and I promise I will try to do more once I can get fully up to speed and I can be quite autonomous. It's just going to take time for me to have enough context. And like quite a few of the clients at Thunk, they don't have contracts that are like entirely full-time. Like John has multiple clients. And so that almost makes it harder because then it's like trying to figure out, okay, which clients does it make sense for me to try to help with? Who requires the least amount of context for Steven to make meaningful contributions? And even once we kind of determined that, it's like, oh, well, it's not like every single day, right? Thunk and the client are having like constant communications because it's 100% of the focus the whole time. So it's difficult for me to like jump in and be a part of conversations or meetings or any of that stuff. So trying to get everything, set up, access to documents, it's just a little bit of a hurdle. But that always is what happens when, you go from like being the person that handles all of this and the only one that needs access is yourself. And then like that very first hire to try to help you and like spread your responsibility out a little bit becomes difficult. So I've seen that with like every small business that I've been a part of. As soon as you go from
0 to 1,
that very first time you need to offload some responsibility, all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I don't document that. I don't have a schedule for that. All of my access is like just me, not like the company, and stuff like that. So
that's,
yeah, we're going to work through it.
So that's, and for those that have been paying attention, they know this guy, Craig, that I've been working with. And I think that was absolutely our first big hurdle, was getting me in, was to get me up to speed with things. And I feel like I am getting there. I feel like I'm there mostly on the bigger stuff that he's got as a regular project. So, and I know we even talked about bringing you in or possibly bringing you in. And that was like, he's like, I just don't have the time to get both of you up and running. And that was,
it's hard,
and you have your own company, right? You have your own LLC, right?
Yes, for Backer Club, but not for this other stuff. It's something I will probably do eventually. But that's actually a good point. It's just like everything I would ever need to expense or do as a business, like it was because of Backer Club. And so that was just there. I never really had the need for a like Stephen Fox Consulting LLC. But now I probably will, since I'm starting to do a little bit more of this stuff. Speaking of which, so I had the Thunk thing start a Monday or two ago. And then I don't know if he wants me to share this quite. Yes, I won't mention any names, but I'm also starting to get involved with another guy that has been doing his own dev shop for quite a while, focusing a lot on filament projects. What an amazing package.
Filament?
Meta framework, whatever you want to call it.
Oh my God. Yes. It's everything. It is so yes. Continue. I
do really like Nova as well. It's what I use with Backer Club. And I have to say, to go from like 0 to a pretty interface for my database, right? Which is essentially what it is. Nova's great, right? It's just like so fast to configure what you want and add like basic actions and stuff. But the more I've been using Filament for like more customized admin panels, both in a UI sense, but also in a functionality sense, it's really, really incredible what all of those guys are doing. So I'm excited to see what V4 has. I haven't even tried to look up like what they're wanting to release with V4, but I think it's supposed to come out fairly soon. I don't know. Whatever. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, so anyways, I'm trying to get involved with him as well. Kind of the same story where it's, okay, well, like here's, our main client, and then you just need this big ramp up period. Luckily that has been going even faster than we were expecting, kind of the opposite of the problem that I have with Thunk. Which is great. So, actually able to make some contributions there. And I'm hoping to help him on both a dev level, but also just a business level, like really serving as more of a partner for him than just an employee. But we're going to date for a little while before any decisions on that are sort of made. And we'll go from there. And then, other than that, life with 2 baby kids and challenges that come along the way with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. So we had a particularly crap day yesterday with an incident at daycare. And whatever, we'll get personal for a moment. Our poor little guy, Ollie, who's 3, which made a guest appearance today. That's why he's home today. Was sort of a victim of 2 just barely slightly older kids that are in like the next classroom up, but his current class and the next class, they interface a lot. It's like the 3 to 5 basically year old range. And yeah, there was just like an incident outside at the very end of the day. Parents were coming to pick up kids, a lot of chaos, hard for teachers to kind of keep an eye on everything that's going on. And there's been 2 kids in the next class up that have caused a little bit of a problem up until now, with just like not wanting to leave him alone, and nothing bad per se. They just seem particularly interested in playing with him, and he's not always down for that. But then at the end of the day yesterday, they kind of cornered him. I don't need to get too detailed, but it was bad. Like, not just your typical, you didn't share your toy with me, I'm gonna like hit you, right? Or try to bite you. He was like almost to the point kind of sexually assaulted. And so, gonna have to figure out how to deal with that. I have no idea. These are not the kind of things that your upbringing up until like your mid-20s, like you're prepared for. I mean, it's just, so my wife and I are trying to figure out what to do with that. Probably seek some advice from, our mom and dads, the grandparents, anybody else that has kids. Because it's just like, on one hand, I can understand that, these other kids, like they're 4, I think. And so if they were teenagers where they're fully aware of what they're doing, that's a completely different situations. But at 4, it's like they're just old enough to really like want to do certain things, but at the same time, they're kind of just like compulsive. Like they're not, I don't think, fully thinking through what they're doing, at least in the heat of the moment. So how do you reprimand that? How do you deal with that? What does the daycare do? It's tough. But this is the first time. I mean, he's always had issues where, he's been bullied, or he has been the bully at times, right? Because learning to share is one of the hardest parts of being 2 to 3. So there have
42.
Always been, yeah. I want your 3D printer, Shane. Give it to me.
Never.
So there's always been little things like that, but that's just like, okay, there's some biting, or there's like little hittings or temper tantrums, but knocking my kid to the ground, hitting him, kicking him, and then trying to take his clothes off is like kind of beyond that. So I have no idea. And it's like hitting my wife really hard. She tried to watch the like security cam footage and just could barely, only made it partially through, because it was just like making her want to cry, seeing him in that situation, making me want to tear up just thinking about it. So trying to work through that while being an adult and working, and all of other life's
talking about 3D printers,
euphoric moments and not so great moments. So there you go. There's my.
Hey, we're real people here.
We are real people.
Well, first of all, that's a horrible situation. Poor Ollie. Yep. So sorry that happened, and I hope that there's some sort of resolution from this. I don't know what that even means necessarily, but some way that it can be. It's like no, I'm not gonna. I was gonna just a brief, quick thing, I guess. It's not about me. It's not about me. But maybe this gives you a little perspective. I had and we talked a little bit about this before the show, and I think on one hand you can make this a big deal, or you can choose not to make it a big deal, and I think that there's pros and cons either way. By not making it a big deal, maybe it normalizes that kind of behavior for Ollie. And even for yourself to some degree, or your wife, which is not what you want. But also, like, if it's like not a big deal, maybe there are no lingering effects of it, or if it's not made a big deal. When I was in 9th grade, I think there was a new kid, and it was a very small school. There was like 100 kids from pre-K through 12th grade or something. It was private school. Okay. This kid, it was like his first week of school. We're reading books, and I look up, and he's just staring at me, and he's like, "I'm gonna effing kill you" or something. I'm like, "Your mama," you know. I'm like, I don't know how to handle. Like, I don't know what to do. And at the end of the day, he just comes up to me. I'm waiting for my stepmom to pick me up from school, and he's like, "I'm gonna count to 5, and I'll punch you in the face." And I'm like, "I'm just gonna sit here." Yeah. And he counted to 5. He punched me in the face. I started crying. This girl, a few years older than us, came up and held him by the throat against the wall. It's like, "Don't you dare touch him," and blah, 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 like defended me. And we both got suspended, which I'm still a little sour about because I don't feel like I needed to, but the principal was like, "You kind of manipulated him."
33 years later.
Yeah, right? I'm like, I mean, I didn't, whatever. I was like, "Your mama." So I provoked him, I guess. But we both had like 3 days out of school suspension. We both came back to school. We're in the same class. 8 kids or 9 kids in the whole class, right? Of all of 9th grade. And he apologized to me. I apologized to him. And we became best friends, actually, for the next 2 years. I went to his house. He came to my house. And like, it was like a really weird way of breaking the ice, I guess.
I was about to say, it's almost like he just didn't really know how to make that initial,
I guess.
Like, I actually want to be your friend, but at first I'm going to be a bully.
Yeah, I don't think it was like that necessarily. It forced us to reconcile, which made us talk about other things and find some common interests. And it was like, he actually became not my best friend there, but he became a friend of mine for a while,
right?
For several years afterwards too. So
that's
good things can come from bad things. I do. Yeah. I don't think I really hate the cliche, everything happens for a reason, because I don't think everything happens for some reason. But I do think all negative things can be turned into positive things, and they can serve to benefit you in your life, and et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah,
those are my 4.5 cents.
Thank you.
You can round up.
We're trying to navigate. The only thing we've really discussed with him is like last night after when we were like getting ready for bed, I just like asked him if anything happened at daycare that he didn't like. And he was like, yes. And he tried to describe what happened. And I just like didn't really know what else to say about it. So I just like, if nothing else, I was like, okay, little man, if you are ever in a situation where somebody else is doing something to do and you really don't like it, you need to just yell for help. I think even at his age, and I'm going to be curious to watch the camera footage myself, but I'm afraid he was trying to handle the situation himself, right? By like physically retaliating to push them away or, whatever. But like at that age, you need, hey dude, you need one of the, we'll bring you in just a second. You need one of the teachers really to help. So I was like, baby, and this was what was really hard. I was like, you can't do this if you spilt your water, right? Like, but if it's something super serious and like you are scared because somebody else is doing something, you just yell for help as loud as you possibly can. And hopefully that was the right thing to do. I don't really know. But I just don't really know. I mean, he's 3. So like if he's literally pinned to the ground, he can't overpower older kids, especially 2 of them. Him being quiet, but like trying to get out of the situation is probably not going to help. And so I feel like him screaming out for help from a teacher is like the only actually constructive thing he could kind of do. Luckily, even yesterday, there was like another kid that saw what was going on and ran to get one of the teachers. And so like, that's what ultimately stopped the situation. So anyway, I like how Simon comes in and then just immediately leaves again.
I don't
we're back.
Hey!
What?
Whoa. Holy crap. What is he wearing? All right, for our audio-only listeners, he's turning his mic back on now, I think.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yay! Is that what? Okay, if this is what you were waiting for and why you were late, I suddenly regret being very, very mean to you in the earlier part. I'm just kidding.
I don't.
You should
So yeah,
never
were you
regret
waiting on
being mean to me.
coffee or were you waiting for your jacket?
That was a
screen printing to
long
be done?
coffee. No, I was going to pick up my dog. So
Oh,
he's gone to the hairdresser, the dog groomer. And
nice.
yeah, they were normally it takes them a few hours, but today I went down there like, oh, this is normally the time, and my wife had another thing to go to, so we were like, I'll rush around there and just grab him and then take you to your thing, and then I'll get back in time for this. Oh my days, everything has gone wrong. Everything has gone wrong. They weren't ready. So then I had to change the whole thing up, and then there was loads of traffic, and it was disgusting. Anyway, I feel
When
like
it rains, it pours.
yeah, I feel like I've cut into the middle of some really deep conversation. I heard a little bit.
You did, but the good
what's
part
happening?
is, this is a recording, so you'll get to go back in the future and
Yes,
listen
but
to
I
the
won't be
beginning of
busy
our
on Monday.
episode.
He won't
I
be
can't
busy.
do that right now, so I don't know what the conversation was about until the future, and then my future me can't inject those thoughts into the present me.
Dude, yes
Yeah.
you can. Come on.
Wait,
Look
just
at your.
next episode.
There you go.
It
Time
didn't
travel.
work.
What's
But I
that smell?
Yeah, change my shorts now.
Your eyes look particularly beautiful today, Simon. You're not wearing your glasses. I'm wondering if this is like, are you contacting today, or you just broke
It
your
looks like
glasses?
he has
or
a fresh
I
hairdo
just
as well. Are you just
like-
prepping for Laracon? You want to look beautiful for Laracon?
want?
Yeah.
He can't help it. He can't help it.
Yeah.
I just
I mean,
realized.
You're wrong, because like it really doesn't go naturally like this. And I know that, and I've got to do my absolute best. I mean, I literally wrote in my notes for like talk prep weeks ago, look on point. Because you want people to go, oh yeah, this dude's put together. I can't go
So
on
does that
there
mean
with
you
my
will or will not wear the jacket you currently have on? I put him
Well,
on the
yeah,
spot.
my wife is a stylist.
Okay.
And she said to me, I know exactly what I'm going to make you wear on the stage. And I'm like, okay.
What is
So
it? Okay,
it's out of
you
my
can't
hands.
leave me
No,
hanging
I
like
don't
that.
even know. I don't even know.
Oh,
I'm going to find out.
You're just gonna open up your suitcase, and be like, fudge, or you're gonna be like,
I'm allergic to
the
latex.
best.
What's do you know what a morph suit is? Does that make any sense to you guys?
No, I have no idea what that is.
Like Mighty
I-
Morphin Power Rangers.
Well, it is kind of like a Power Rangers thing, but so there was this character from years ago in the UK called Morph, and it was just like a Play-Doh, plasticine thing that
Okay.
it was a stop motion animation. And then when those like onesie suits with like what covers over the face as well came out, in the UK they called them morph suits.
Okay.
Because you look like a plasticine person, whatever. Maybe I'm getting that completely wrong and they're called something else, but to me they're always going to be morph suits.
Looking up what is plasticine.
Oh man.
It's Play-Doh, but it's
Okay, all right.
it's the I don't know if it's even the technical term. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know any words. But
Okay, let me save you from your misery here. You'll have to just go back and listen to the beginning of this episode because I don't really feel like talking about that particular subject anymore, and that will make sense once you go back and
Okay.
listen. But because I only have about probably 15 minutes left that I can record for today, I have Ollie home with a babysitter for reasons you'll soon understand. And I would rather at this moment hear for 15 minutes about like where you are, Simon, and you've got a very big week next week.
I think he's in the Canary Islands, right? Looks like it.
Did
Yeah,
you just
very-
mess your pants again? Bring extra underwear.
Thank God for the latex then. For real. Slide right out of them.
Yeah. So,
So
like,
I'm
are you ready? I mean, you're
Am
talking
I
Monday,
ready?
dude.
He'll let you know Tuesday.
Yeah. I don't think you can ever really be ready for this, especially it's my first time getting in front of this kind of size of audience. But we'll see when Tuesday
But, like,
comes
is
around.
the content of your talk and stuff like that, are you done-ish?
Sure-ish.
Is like what you want to... Are you still going forward with the app idea? To, like, actually demo stuff
So
of any type?
I don't know. You're gonna put this live on Monday, right? So
Yeah,
don't
right.
wanna, like,
We talked about
jump
this.
the gun on anything.
Yeah, we
This
did.
video will be published around the same time you're talking on Monday. So
Yeah.
feel
I'm talking
free.
on Tuesday, but
Then
okay.
never mind. We can actually. Well,
Oh.
we can put this out Tuesday. Do you know what time of day?
Yeah, it's like 2:50 Amsterdam time, which I think is GMT +1. So maybe like 8,
Yeah, like
9 in the
Yeah.
morning your time.
Like 10. So what we can do is just push this out Tuesday at noon, our time, and for sure it'll come out after you've already spoke. So feel free to say whatever you want.
Okay. Oh, that's kind of freeing.
Yeah.
this is
could be
interesting. It's like
actually good
time
15
travel
minutes.
spoilers here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, man,
but
let's
then
hear it.
You have to promise not to say a word to anyone.
Yeah, of course. Who do I know? I only talk to you guys. And Craig. Maybe I'll tell Craig something. I don't know.
Yeah, Craig. Hopefully, I'll have remembered to say hi, Craig, on stage. So, Stephen, I don't know if I've even mentioned it to you guys at all. The app got approved.
Oh, sweet. So you can just
Yup.
like straight up get it from the App Store?
Yes, you can.
Like
it's,
right
it's
now?
a really,
Yeah.
a really crappy app, but yeah.
Yeah.
What's it
So
called?
I haven't told anybody this. I've been holding it in forever. And so he showed me like a week ago. It's a Trivia Pursuit, Daily Pursuit.
Yeah, it's called Daily Pursuit, which is a terrible name, and it's just so
That's
hastily
okay.
thrown together. But the
Unless
point
you're a stalker.
Is it
point-
is it this?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is that one exactly.
Dude, look at that. You've got
A
this
Laravel.
is so cool right now.
Yeah.
You guys have an app.
Not
I'm
you
looking at
guys.
the public Apple App Store that's got look at this. Look at it right let's see if I can point to the right place.
Does it have ratings?
It says native PHP.
Oh,
Look at that. That's freaking awesome. Oh my gosh.
it's actually been downloaded quite a few times already, which I'm
Really?
surprised about. Yeah, like 20 times, which I mean
Whoa.
is nothing, but like I
No,
haven't
that's
told many people
20
about
times.
it. So.
I haven't told anybody. I swear to you.
No, it's fine. So
2025 Simon Hamp. Look at this. Get. Yes, please.
Keep quizzing yourself.
booyah!
Okay.
This changes
This is cool.
everything, right? Now
Ooh,
we
it says I
know
must
for
have
sure.
iOS 18.2.
Yeah, sorry about that, but you need to upgrade
What?
your phone.
Why is that? Just completely curious.
It's not a technical limitation. I literally went in
Okay.
like I'm on 18.2 when I was building the app, and I just wanted to be. I wanted to cut down as many of the possible objections from Apple as I could. So in advance of going into any review, I was just like, what's the absolute best position that I can be in so that it just, like, in theory, could fly through. And it did. I mean, it flipping flew through. It was crazy.
You didn't have to ask for any help from a connection or anything. It just
No.
happened.
It was amazing. I mean, I don't even know like how
Like
likely
so
that's going to be in
fast,
the
you
future.
don't even
but-
think a person was involved.
No, there were definitely people involved. So I was
Definitely
getting
people involved.
I
Okay.
was getting messages back from them around like the usability of the app. like issues that were making it impossible for somebody to have a good experience, like first loading it up. And once I'd fixed, like, there was nothing else. There were no other objections about, you know, the way that it's been built or how the technologies come together or any of that. And it's literally like, got through, fixed all the issues, pushed it back for like the third review, I think it was. And I was like, oh, I'm probably not going to hear until next week. You know, I did that on a Friday. And then I heard back on the Saturday. So, and it was just the congratulations email, which you will have seen if you've seen my talk before you've watched this.
Are they going to stream it? Do you know?
Do you know, I've asked so many people so many times, and do I not get an answer of like, no, I just don't get an answer.
Why don't you just stream from your phone? We'll start up Riverside.
Oh, yeah,
and just open it on your phone.
Just put it on the little podium
while you're talking. Bring us along with you. We'll wave.
So I think there's definitely a thing about that. But it is huge.
Yeah, sorry, it's just that like changes. I feel you must have like 1,000 bricks off your shoulders, right? Being able to go into Laracon saying, look, this is a native PHP app that can actually go somewhere.
Oh, it's a Laravel.
Not like this particular.
It's just
Laravel.
Laravel.
Not this particular app. Just like Laravel. Like
a live
it has
wire
commercial viability.
Yeah.
So I've had when I started a job many years ago, I got a bottle of Dom Perignon as a starting gift from that, and I kept it because I was like, this is for a special occasion. You know, starting this job, it's important, but it's not that special, you know? So I've probably had that bottle for about 8 years, which is crazy, right? Because it's not even supposed to last that long.
Dom? Oh, come on.
Did you drink it?
Yeah, good champagne.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah,
Dude.
no, and I was really surprised. It was still amazing. But yeah, that was like a 19-year-old bottle of Dom Perignon.
Nice.
Finished it off on the day. Yeah.
Oh,
so
it was
I
beautiful.
can just see Simon. Congratulations email comes in. He just goes, "Yep."
I feel
it was like that.
I was like privileged, actually.
God. And then
he he shakes it up and just blasts himself.
Showers the dog.
Wifey, come in here. Let me spray you.
It was such a good moment, and I mean, I don't know what's going to come from all of this. Obviously, I've got like dreams about what it could be, but fundamentally, right now, I feel like we're going to turn. This is so weird talking as if I'm in the future, talking about the past. That hasn't happened yet. We're going to make all PHP developers into Apple mobile.
Well, Android's going to come too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question.
They won't have to learn anything new. They can just use what they already know. It's amazing.
Did you talk to or get any clarification? So I know that Marcel had issues 6 years ago, getting PHP binaries into an app, and that was what it was rejected for. So my question is, and you'll probably be asked this after your talk or during the talk, or no one's going to ask you during the talk. I don't think it's like a town hall kind of thing. But do you know if it was like they didn't see that and they let it slide, or if they knowingly saw it and they just don't care, or if there's any clarification around why one was approved and another one wasn't? And it's based on this core functionality of getting the PHP binary in the app.
So technically there isn't a PHP binary in the app. I'll try and break it down a little bit. But the traditional view that folks will have had to get PHP running is take PHP as this bundled executable, kind of stuff it inside the envelope of the application, and then just run that. Apple really don't like that, and that's generally speaking why a lot of people, I think anyway, a lot of people go, oh no, Apple will never approve PHP running on an iPhone. because they think of it in this model where you've got to execute PHP as this separate process. This is completely different. So what we're doing, this is something that's been around in PHP for a while, but you can compile PHP into its own shared library. So it's not a binary that's executable on its own. It has to be bundled into a C application. And you have to configure PHP in that environment. So you have to tell PHP what to expect. And your kind of the consuming application, if you will, has to know exactly what PHP expects in order to operate. But you basically then run the PHP engine as your application, not as its own separate binary. And so what happens is you can just push like code, a string of code, or point it to a file or anything, you know, that you typically would be able to do. But instead of it like offloading that to some PHP process in the background, it's the application on its main thread is going and executing PHP code.
No shit.
Yeah. So basically, it's not even like PHP is a separate thing. PHP is that application that you can download on the iPhone right now.
Because it compiles to C. So it's not in this other weird thing. It's part of what it already is recognizing as an application.
And so
that's crazy.
When Apple are like reviewing it, whatever their code systems are doing, they're just going, this is just another like library that we allow libraries to be, as long as they're interfaced with appropriately and they're not going to break, then great, you know. So, and it's safe enough that it's not exposing anything to the network. Like there's no web server in here, so we're not having to boot up a HTTP service and listen on the network, even on a loopback. You know, there's none of that. We're not opening any ports or anything. We're literally feeding it directly into the engine. It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
I'm glad to have figured it out. I'm not going to lie, because it's been a fun journey, but it was hard.
I mean, this is big.
Yeah.
But this is huge.
Oh my God.
I've been waiting all show to do that.
Dude, that's brilliant.
Is that great?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Shane. Sometimes.
I'm going to put this back here.
That's awesome. Is what you
That's
just
amazing.
described, like, is that something you cover in your talk?
I haven't really got a lot of time to go through all of the detail of it. I think it's going to come out more over the next few weeks and months as I kind of elaborate more and more, but I'll touch on it.
Can you, yeah, well, okay, go ahead. I'm just kind of curious, like, what your talk actually is at this point.
Well, the first thing is, like, who the heck am I? Because I don't think anybody really knows.
We don't even really know the real Simon.
So you're gonna get to know me a little bit better when you watch my talk. So there's that.
You're so humble.
I know.
He's British. It's built in. It's native PHP.
I just can't help it. Basically I've got like 25 minutes. So I've set aside like 5 minutes at the beginning for just trying to get through that. Like, what the heck am I going to talk about? Who the hell am I? You know, why should you even pay attention to this crazy British person? And then go straight into how the hell have I done this? And then basically wrap up with, this is going to come to native PHP as an official native PHP thing. And hopefully by Tuesday, I'll have wrapped up enough of the stuff to actually allow people to start using it on day one. So, crazy. I've got like a wild few days ahead of me. And when we listen back to this, it will already be over, which is wild. So
I'm curious, how do you literally plan on starting your talk? Like, you walk up, I'm assuming there's a podium. You walk on stage. What is the very first thing you're doing?
Hey, team.
Hola. Gotta do it in Spanish.
No.
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 Do you know?
I mean, I'm
Hey
not going
Team.
to do a little dance. It's literally going to be "Hey Team." That's my intro.
But like, what's like your very first slide?
Building mobile apps in PHP.
Okay,
The title.
hear me out. I think you should literally walk on stage, and you don't have to really do anything except tell the audience if you have an Apple phone on the newest iOS version, you can go to the App Store and find this little app, and that is Laravel.
So that is going to be like slide 2 in the original
Okay.
plan, but I'm kind of in two minds about it right now because whilst I think it relieves all of this maybe pressure that people, there's sort of this pressure that I'm feeling from people now because loads of people have messaged me and said, please tell me, please tell me. And honestly, a couple of people have found the app already just by searching. So there's a couple of people that figured it out.
If you search
But-
for native PHP.
Yeah, exactly. So that's quite cool, but in a way, it's like there's this, there's like a champagne cork kind of waiting to, you know. And I think doing that right at the beginning of the talk would be cool because it'd be like, pow, yeah, woo. But then I think people are just going to be a little bit like about the rest of my talk, you know. So, and it might even hit a little bit harder. And this is what I've been thinking. If I go the entire talk and then kind of drop it at the end as like, oh, I forgot. So I don't know. What do you reckon?
Man, I can see it going both ways because, like, yes, the wind up would be really cool. And it's been proven time and time again that, like, whatever occurs at the very end of an event is what most people remember.
Yeah.
So those are definitely pros to kind of, releasing the fact that, like, the app has been approved and it's actually on the App Store at the end of your talk. But at the same time, like, there's the other thing where every single, like, action movie, right, you've ever seen in your life has the Shakespearean model where the first 10 minutes are always an action scene, right? It's this like prereq climax, then you go into story building, and then it's the actual like ultimate climax. And because it just
And I love
captures
that.
people's attention, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly, so I can almost see how, like, if you drop the bomb that, and I'm also a really big fan when it can work to get the audience involved, right? So, like, if you could, like, actually tell people, like, hey, just whip out your iPhone, head to the App Store, and, like, you could be doing it, I don't know if you can do something to kind of, like, do something similar, or just bring up the App Store on your computer while you're streaming it, whatever. But, like, you're finding this with the audience, and you just tell them, by the way, that's just a Laravel app. And then it's like, my name is Simon, and I'm going to tell you how this happened. And then I like, everybody in the audience will just be like, whoa. And, like, they'll really be tuned in, I think. So it's just hard. Do you want, like,
Yeah. Wow. You
the
give
shock,
me a good
I would
idea.
say? Do you want,
give
'cause
me a
I
really
almost
good
think if
idea.
you wait till the end, it will almost be assumed that it would happen because, like, why would you go through so much of this work without the app type of a thing?
Yeah.
And then on the
I
other
know.
hand, it's, man, dude, I don't know.
I mean, you can just do things because you want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get that. Okay, just while you've been speaking about that, I've thought, wouldn't it be great if I actually kind of talked with the audience like, yo, wouldn't it be cool if you could go to the store and just find like a
this.
native PHP
And just
app?
type in native PHP and
then an app comes up and you're like, what? And I'm literally doing it on the screen, like, whilst I'm introing. That's yeah. I think you might have
Yeah.
won me over, Stephen.
You'd already have the app downloaded, but like, yeah, you could just find it. It would say, open instead of get
Yeah,
or whatever, and then have it ready. And then like, if the app pops up, and you're just like, every one of you here in the audience today that knows something about Laravel can now do this. Just like, and then
Did you
walk
just
off the
update your
stage.
phone, Stephen?
Yeah, he did. He just done it whilst we were
It says
talking.
hola or whatever. I know whatever you do, Simon. Your name backwards is no miss, so it doesn't matter what you do. You're
No, man.
It's been 40 years that I've been trying to find a reason to use that.
Oh
I got it. Day one, I realized it. No miss, dude. You got it.
Shane,
It doesn't
you're just
matter.
dropping all these bombs today.
What do they say?
I think no matter what, you're good. We're trying to split hairs on, the absolute best option out of many good options. So it's not like you have a bunch of shit options and you're trying to find the least crappy one. I think no matter what, you've got a really, really good 25 minutes coming.
Well, the only other thing is that I'm going on right after Aaron Francis. And now everybody's like teed up with what he's going to be releasing.
Yeah,
And sort of,
I don't know. Have you seen any of that, Stephen? Have you paid attention to Aaron Francis in the last week
Have
or
not
less?
been able to.
I don't know. Do you know what it is,
what will
Simon?
my future
or...
self? No.
I've been one of the lucky ones to get a sneak peek, so I do know exactly
So
what
since
it is.
this is coming out after the talk, you
Yeah.
can tell me what it is now.
Ooh, man, I'm breaking embargoes left, right, and centre.
That's all right. That's all right.
I hope nobody hacks our Riverside account.
Yeah, no, don't click this video, please. It's essentially a way to run. I mean, okay, first off, he's showed me little clips of video and screenshots. I haven't played with it, or
Sure.
he hasn't showed me fully what it is, but he sent me some stuff, and I was like, oh, it's PHP in Vue. So you can basically write script that's going to run on the server inside a Vue template.
It's like the opposite of Blackwire.
Yeah,
Taking your
something like
PHP
that.
code and sticking it into JavaScript rather than taking
So, what's the hello world example of that? Because I'm having a hard time understanding even what that means.
Man, I haven't grasped it either. I'm waiting for his talk to find it all out, because it's like, okay, this looks cool. I don't understand. Teach me. Tell me what it is. Let me just get up his little things.
Is it
and
sort
see.
of? Is it basically like, in Vue, whenever you're making a API call, you could just write the logic to handle that API call right there?
Oh.
So- Yeah, I
Oh.
would kind of think of it as Vault components, where the PHP is in the template file, and it's
Yeah.
it's actually really nice, because I like it anyway. I know a lot of people aren't down with it, but I think it's really nice, because if you've got little bits of functionality, now everything's co-located, and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits of Vue components or React components has been that you have kind of everything together. But the issue with them is that the backend is still required, and it's still separate. And it is why, who is it? Vercel, I guess. Next has come with React on the. Where is it? What do they call it?
Is it React server components? I don't even really
Yeah.
know what they are, but I think it's stuff like that.
But that
trying
really
to
only
blur
works
the
if
lines.
you've got the React backend, right, that can plug it into
Right.
that stuff, or whatever it is that does that, because I don't really know. But this is kind of that for PHP, and I think also because Aaron really loves Vue and dislikes React. he's gone and started with Vue. But yeah, I guess it's almost a love letter from Livewire to the JS community through Aaron. Where he's kind of going.
How in the world is he doing this? Does it just get?
So PHP
Does
will
it get
actually
ripped out in compilation?
compile down to a C project library that you can include. I'm just kidding.
It seems like
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that there's probably some mechanism in JavaScript that he's either built or found that can fully serialize PHP code. And it's sending it over the wire to the backend. And he's executing in some sort of sandbox environment on the server side.
It's like if you can send HTML over the wire, why not just send PHP? And you're telling it what code you want it to run, essentially, right?
Yeah.
When it hits the server through an AJAX request, and then it returns the response of whatever that code is.
Exactly.
My guess.
In principle, that's exactly how it can work. But that's super scary to me from a security perspective.
that is a security nightmare.
Oh. Yeah, but okay,
Because if
so
it's
that's
in JavaScript, you can manipulate it in the browser.
Yeah, for sure.
Which
yeah,
would make
but that can be signed, and that can be
exactly.
you could cryptographically sign it.
That can be worked around.
If you can prove that what gets sent back to you is what you originally kind of rendered out, then you're kind of safe.
But then what's the whole point then? Because then the backend already knows about it.
Well, this might be the way. Like maybe he's not serializing the code at all. Maybe it's.
I feel like it could be a build step.
Could be
Basically, almost the same way like all of your Tailwind stuff gets figured out during a build step and then turned into an actual CSS file.
which you're going to have a
He
build
could be
step
hooking
anyway.
into that.
But the whole point,
Binding.
though, is like to have like two-way binding in Vue with variables, and so you have this counter as an example, right? That's incrementing, and you're sending that new variable. You want to send an email with what you just updated the counter to be, right? So now you have this PHP code that's going to be handled on the back end with this brand new information that you created on the front end.
But that's
so
just
it's going to
like
be hard to
Livewire.
sign that. But the opposite, right? So it's done in Vue first.
No, Livewire does it in JavaScript. So this is like my understanding of Livewire. Like people go, oh, it's the state's on the server, and it is eventually, but it doesn't start on the server. It starts on the client,
Right.
and it's like kind of immediately pushed up to the
it
server.
sends an AJAX request that updates what that is, and then you can use that in other components or whatever.
That's exactly how this could work too. But instead of it starting in just Alpine, kind of HTML marked up with these wire model and stuff, it's a Vue extension that does exactly the same kind of thing, but with a slightly weirder setup. But then it looks like everything's all in one file, like a Vault component, which is kind of staying true to Vue components. So you could,
very
I kind of
interesting.
think it's going to be the same as Livewire, but for Vue, basically. And it's going to potentially bring a load of people back to Vue and go, oh, yeah, that's cool. But then it does beg the question, like, what about inertia?
So I saw there was, two things. One, I mean, Livewire initially was in Vue initially. I don't know if you remember this or if anyone was involved, but it was Caleb originally had written all of the AJAX back and forth stuff in Vue. The problem was you can't bind two Vue apps inside of the same div ID app. You have to mount it to a single div with a single, so you couldn't have two Vue apps running in conjunction with each other, and one of them being Livewire. That's why he wrote Alpine in the first place. We had to make his own kind of way to do this AJAX stuff and stumbled into Alpine. But from what I saw, Taylor retweeted, somebody was like, is this kind of like, or Taylor retweeted like, this is wild. And then someone was like, is this like inertia? And he's like, it's kind of like the inertia. So that's about, and then like Josh Sear was like, this is crazy, you guys. So that's the only thing I know about it until what you just told me. I still am not fully
like a blow
like,
by
understanding.
blow of Twitter. I don't need to use Twitter anymore. Shane, read me my messages.
It's the Shane. It's a shitter.
Perfect. I'll use it in the morning.
That's it. That's it.
This is very
Your
interesting.
daily dump from shitter. And anyway,
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, like one of the very first ideas we had for things to talk about on our podcast was like the pay per token social media site idea you had. You should just make it and it's called the shitter.
The shitter.
Oh man.
I forgot about that.
I'm going to be
That's-
really
that's an idea.
interested to know how he does it. Like I can see
Yeah.
hypothetically the application here, right? People that are more comfortable being in the front end world, right? Kind of staying within the context of like the browser, that's where they want to be. A lot of these like front end devs now can just sprinkle in back end logic very easily. That's really cool. It's literally the opposite of Livewire. People that are more comfortable being in the PHP world and they can kind of add the dynamicism, whatever you say that word.
Yeah. There's a
JavaScript-y
whole
stuff.
There's a whole bunch of developers who are maybe even consider themselves to be full stack or fuller stack, but they like Vue. They don't want to go Livewire. They built something in Vue and they don't want to have to re-platform the whole thing. But equally, they just don't want to build the API. And maybe for some reasons, inertia just doesn't fit them either. You know, it's like we can't bring inertia to this. But what we can do is the sprinkling, like you're saying, Stephen. And I think that it has potential. I think it also leads to this general kind of trend of we're really figuring out now how to get rid of the API. Like this concept of like we've got to build an API for the front end. You know, React has been doing it with server components. We've got it with Livewire and inertia. More and more people are doing it. Like this HTMX, and I don't know, that's been around for a really long time, but basically like what can we do to just get rid of that interface and like the explicit creation of that thing, because it's gross and nobody really does it well.
Except if you're building a mobile app.
No, this is where it's going to happen as well. We're going to get rid of it there too.
No shit.
Yeah, baby.
How though? Because you have to have the data off the phone.
Whoa, that's a big topic. Stephen, how are you doing for time?
Right.
You just keep rolling until I hear a kid
He
screaming.
can duck out. Look, hey, he and I talked for like a friggin' hour almost, so you and I can finish up the show. I'll just finish it by myself. You both can drop off if you have to.
Finish by yourself.
Shader. Shitter.
So this is a bit wild thinking, and I haven't really thought this through properly, so I probably shouldn't talk about it too much. But if you've got Laravel on the front end in the sense of it's the client application, right? So you know that in the iPhone app you're running Laravel, and that is your client to some backend application which is running on a server, yeah? Which is also Laravel. So you've got Laravel on the back end and Laravel on the front end. What can you do? Where's my things?
You need a drum roll.
Wait a minute. Hang on a minute.
Shane's figuring it out, man.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so
I'm
if you
currently busy playing this Laravel app on my phone.
It's so good, isn't it? You're hooked.
You should see what V2 is actually.
Yeah.
So if you watch my talk at PHP Upstate, you'll see.
Guys, like it's working.
Yeah.
It's working. I'm going. Oh, let me hide my face so my camera will. It's working. It's going from.
I'm like old news, dude.
Sorry,
I was there
super cool.
3 weeks ago, but nah, I'm just kidding. Well, I was though. Whatever. That's why you can't trust me with any secret. Because when everybody else finds out about it, I'm like, whatever.
I knew about that better than you. I knew already.
I was cool a year ago, you guys. You didn't even know it. Anyway, what was I even saying? What was I talking about?
How do you make the API disappear?
Well, it's still there. It's still there. Don't lie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just now you're sending the PHP code from the client to the backend, and you're running that code. It's really like one single endpoint. It's almost GraphQL-ish at that point. What do you mean there?
Livewire is a single
You're
endpoint.
sending it all of the PHP commands, code, whatever from the client. You're just going to a single entry point to tell it what to do.
I believe I don't know if we're going to get to this point where like the PHP code that's in the iPhone app is going to be malleable in that way. So one of the really important things that I wanted to get right for shipping the app to the store was the PHP code has got to be in a place where it's not like editable after the app is installed. And by default, there is a space inside of iPhone apps that you can do that. So it's read-only. The PHP code is read-only. And that's great because now, no one can say, oh, my phone was hacked or the app had stopped behaving the way that it was supposed to after I installed it because the code couldn't change, right? So you can technically get around it. Like you could have a part of the app kind of go and speak to the part of the other app, the other part of the app that is not read-only and is like read-writable. And you could stick some PHP code in there, but there's no guarantees that that's always going to be there because the user could do things with it if they know how, and the system could do things with it which you have no control over. So you have to assume that the PHP code that's in the app is stuck and you can't change it right now. Maybe in the future we'll figure out a way to do this so that Apple kind of let it fly, but that means there's no like dynamic PHP stuff could be possible in this scenario that I'm thinking of. So what I'm actually thinking is, at its most simple level, you could have a package that gets installed into the client and a package that gets installed into the server. And because those two pieces are configured to work together, as long as you point them, like env on each side with the relevant details, saying this is my server that has the server side of this package, then you exactly get what you said. Stephen, I think you said it is kind of like a GraphQL thing, right? Or a single endpoint. Sorry, Shane. I'm losing track of everyone. It's all a blur.
It's how Livewire works.
Yeah. So it might not be a single endpoint technically, but principally you end up with like the same result, which is you don't think about the endpoints. And that's what you want. As soon as you get rid of the cognitive load of having to like plan out the API surface area and infrastructure and all of that, then you just go, this is gone. I don't think about this anymore.
Yeah.
And I would absolutely love to get to that for mobile apps.
You could just say, this is the function I want to call with this payload. And it all goes to a single endpoint that you don't have to configure. You're just handling it.
The fact that it's Laravel on both sides lets you do something even better. So if you like Eloquent, I like Eloquent. I think it's great. Your models are going to look basically the same on both sides. So in theory, you could literally share the model code between the two applications. So you'd extract your models and maybe even some logic, but there'll be some representation of your models that can be very, very easily shared between the two sites.
It's like the people that want to take their models and convert them into TypeScript types.
Wait a minute.
But you wouldn't even have to do that. You
Right,
just
right,
throw
right.
it
You're
into
just saying it's
the
just
PHP
it's just
app
there.
and it just works.
So when the app starts up, it can say, who am I and what do I do? And it can get all the information because you're sharing the env, however you're configuring this so that it knows who to talk to, and it's like, oh, this is the server, I'm sorry, this is the client native app, whatever logic that you need to be responsible for. You have a game. Inside of the game there are questions, inside of the questions they have answers, and it tells you kind of this, at least on first load.
So I think
Well,
some
isn't
of
that
that's
just
still
baked
going to
into
have
the
to
app?
be, yeah, I think it's still going to have to be baked in. I don't think it's going to come from remote, because the problem that you have with a lot of apps that are like remote dependent, and why a lot of them fail to get into the store, is precisely because that first user experience is network dependent.
Okay.
And if it's network dependent, then okay, you can safely assume if they've downloaded the app from the store, they probably still have network access. But you can't guarantee that. And you want that first experience to be like that it's usable in some way. And when it's not, and it's like pointless then, or it's broken, people are probably just going to delete the app straight away.
Then what is the... All right, so what are you getting at here? What are you really saying? So if the model code can be the same, how do you share that easily?
Basically, you're going to end up with a way to bundle up whichever way round you want to think about it, front end or back end first, the models, so that you can apply them kind of equally in the, what do you call it, counter place.
All right, so if you're building, say, from the server perspective, right, you can maybe have like a iOS model or something like that, some way to mark the model as, or maybe there's certain methods on the same model. A user, just use that for an example, right? And you want that to be at run, when you build this for the phone, your code, your native PHP, whatever code, will extract those that you have marked somehow and build that for you automatically for the phone, so that it's one code base, one repo, and then all of your logic for both apps is contained inside of one area.
I don't know if it would necessarily be one repo. I mean, it could be, but you still end up with like two apps, because I think your logic is, the behavior that you want in the client app is going to be different from what it is on the server. Like if you've ever done any of this, like a few years ago, I was building apps that really the client was everything. There was no user interface on the web to do anything that the client applications could do, because they connected to other hardware. So you had to have the physical hardware plus your phone. So there was no real benefit of like building a web interface for these things. Yeah, you just phone, Bluetooth to device. So the thing that we built to store data and kind of allow users to sync from like one phone to another and like persist across, changing their phone over time and that kind of thing, was just an API. It was just a glorified data cloud backup channel that was hyper specific to that one company. And the way that I look at that is basically that's what a lot of businesses are doing. They just have apps that is what people mostly use. Okay, sometimes website, web application as well, but a phone-based client application that syncs data with the server. And if you can remove the whole pain of like, we need to think carefully about our API structure and tell our iOS app developers what the endpoints are, and have all of this documentation, exactly, and all that management around it. If you can just like do away with all of that, then a whole suite of problems just melt away, and opportunities for tighter integration between the back end and front end exist, or will exist, where you can do some of the things that you've been talking about, Shane, where maybe you do have like a mono repo that's got both apps in it and they share code and some of this stuff, but that will become like specific to your use case. So
I mean, like, I'm just thinking, like, just take authentication for an example, right? If I have a website that has authentication, and you can go to the browser and log in, forget password, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You're hitting a controller or Livewire component or something like that on the back end, and it's got a function to handle that. And if that logic can be shared in one place, maybe things are handled a little bit differently if you're coming from the phone versus the website, but it's the same thing. Like, why create this 2 times if I want this kind of experience? So maybe there's a trivia game where you log in and on the website and you're playing against somebody on their phone, right? So there's shared experience, and it's like agnostic as far as where the user actually is. It doesn't matter. And you hit that controller method, and maybe there's like that controller, we'll just say it's a controller for now, but there's a controller that says this is how to log in, and you're just authenticating the user, you're setting session somehow. And so that setting session then would say you're sending back a token, for example, on the iPhone, versus setting the session on the in the cookies or wherever you're doing it on the website. But then you're just saying like, this is how I need to do it for mobile, because that specifically doesn't matter if you're on Android or iOS. You're sending back a token. So you're just saying on mobile, this is what you do. And I'm kind of just like thinking out loud here, but I think that's, if you can have all that in one spot and you just kind of mark however you want to handle this. If it's coming from an iPhone or Android, this is what I want you to do. Otherwise, it's from a website. This is what I want you to do. But it's all in one area.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think you could get to that place eventually. For me, it kind of has to start with the phone, because I think still most people are building websites that are, web applications where the back end renders the front end, and that coupling is largely there, or they know that they've got to figure out some API. They're not waiting for this technology, right? And it's true of apps too, but there's a whole slew of apps yet to be built that they're going to go and figure this out now as well. They're going to have to go and figure out, how do we store data in the cloud, and we want it to be on our servers, and how do we do authentication and all of that stuff. And they've got to think and plan and build and do change management and all of that around that stuff. And I think that we can get to a place where you can cut through a lot of that, because we've got the same thing on the front end and the back end. I don't mean the same application, but the same framework running in both places. And so we can make loads of assumptions about what is available to us as the package developers, how smoothly we can make that operate. And yeah, I mean, all of these different scenarios of like, is it an iPhone, is it an Android, is it web, is it blah blah, is it a TV, is it a watch, that can all come out eventually. But I think people generally think building an app is hard, and I think right now that's true still, even after many years of it being a thing. And I think tomorrow is going to be different. I think tomorrow building an app is going to be easy, and not just because of ChatGPT and that. No, I think it's going to become easier because of what we're doing. And then we make it even easier, so it just becomes almost passé to build an app.
I asked Caleb in 2020 or 2019, a long time ago. I was like, so basically you are sending HTML over the wire. Why not have that wire, the API endpoint? Why not? What's stopping me from having this served up through a public endpoint that I can interface with on a phone with a web app? And it's rendering the HTML in real life. It's going to be slower because you're loading all this HTML, possibly. I mean, there could be ways to optimize that. But I had this kind of concept, very different. And I think the thing, and we've talked about this before, Simon, you and I, what makes this different is that with what you are building, you can talk to Swift code and access the camera and access anything that's inside of the phone or TV or watch, etc., directly, versus just a web app that's kind of in a web view that you just compiled into an app. Are you going to be demonstrating any of that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Very nice. Like live, like a real demo.
Real. On a real phone.
Oh, that's cool. No miss, Simon.
I can't even say, no, this is the bit like I'm really right up against the wire. I can't even say right now what those things are going to be because I still don't know.
Let me know on Tuesday.
Yeah. But there's going to be a few things, and we're going to build one of those things together so you can see how it happens.
Man, I wish I could be there. I have so much FOMO right now.
I really hope there's going to be a live stream. But you're going to have to get up really early.
I did find, what was it? It was like $850 round trip with a hotel for one person. You could do it. You could go. I think if you leave tomorrow, it's cheaper than leaving on Sunday. Yeah. Yeah. Round trip with a hotel in Amsterdam. And you're just there. You go Saturday, you come back Wednesday.
Cost isn't the problem for me. It's just leaving the family.
Well, then buy my ticket. I'll live stream it. I'll leave tomorrow. No sweat.
Well,
I know, but I want to physically be there.
We'll figure it out.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
you're not gonna miss stuff. You're just not gonna experience you're not gonna feel it in your kidneys.
I can ask.
Yeah, but I would just like to be there to like support you.
Oh, thanks.
Especially Monday and Tuesday morning when you're like,
I'm gonna have no fingers left on Tuesday. You're like, I can't even use the keyboard.
So, okay, man, it's gonna be a cool week.
Well, that was what the hoodie was for. I know Victoria's gonna be a little bummed not seeing her masterpiece on stage, but
I'll figure out a way to get it on stage, but I might have to take it off pretty quickly just so that I don't end up sweating like something.
You can just have your last slide be, like the multiple things you're a part of, and you can mention the 7 podcasts you're on.
Right.
At that point.
7.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
Sipping your water from a bucket.
Well,
quick, Shane, ship one over there. Deliver it to his hotel in Amsterdam.
It was we weren't sure if it was going to because once it goes into customs, it's a black box and you don't know when it's going to come out. I think it was about a week or so. It's set in customs, 5 days, 6 days, something like that.
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't that bad. It was expensive as hell. It was $70 just to ship it, but it is what it is.
Yep.
We won't do that very often.
Right.
The thing that sucks is like no. Well, just whatever. Not really. But what sucks was Jason Beggs wasn't going to go to Amsterdam, and then he told me at the PHP Upstate meetup he's going. I was like, oh, because he's like, nah, I can't go and leave the brand new kid with the wife, and it's not going to go well. Then he's like,
go,
get out of here. I think it was Taylor was like, no, you're coming, dude. And because they're working like today and yesterday, they were working all day, and I think this weekend they're working all together someplace. So
that's cool.
But I was like, damn it, dude! I wish I would have known. I would have given him the hoodie to give to you. It would have saved me. But then who knows? Who knows? At least everyone's there safe, and that's the good thing.
It's Jason who owes you, really.
Jason
owes. Yeah.
Oh no, he does not. Fault. No, and let this be publicly known. Jason has hooked me up with more than anybody I know ever in my life. I think.
Yeah, I think
with
Shane
different
is
jobs
permanently indebted to Jason.
permanently. Yeah. For sure.
So
No, Jason is he's awesome. He's done wonders for me.
well, guys, I'm gonna have to wrap up. At least
we're gonna wrap up.
my end.
Let's wrap.
We'll do it. Let's
You
wrap.
two are welcome to keep talking.
No, next week we're gonna talk about hopefully what comes from this. Are you gonna be back? You gonna be back to record next week?
No.
Okay, no problem. Maybe we'll do one without you. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm going to be enjoying some necessary downtime.
Good. Do it.
How long are you staying in Amsterdam after?
Till the Saturday.
I thought you were gonna say till the summer.
Till the It's much warmer where he lives than Amsterdam. He should flip. And so summertime, go to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I'll tell you guys next time we talk about this cool Laravel coach thing I've got going on. And
Yeah.
I'll just tease it that way. But Tendai, if you know anybody that would like to hear this podcast other than you, go ahead and give this a share. We've talked about some really deep, interesting, cool things here. And I think if you mention this, which I'm assuming you would, on Tuesday at Laracon EU, this is going to pick up some more listeners for us anyway. So beyond Tendai, anybody else that, if you had any enjoyment whatsoever from this episode, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, push us out there a little bit more. We've got some really cool things we're all working on, and we like talking about everything Laravel and PHP and C and iOS and Apple and Android and all sorts of fun things. So
I agree with
later.
90% of that statement. I'm not so
too.
sure about the C part. I can't talk about anything related there.
Well, Simon's the only one that can really.
All right,
sure.
fellas.
The guy never misses.
This has been a treat, and I'm sure we'll touch base even outside of the podcast next week, because I really hope we are able to see it live, so that Shane and I have something to talk about on Friday. If not, we'll have to just beg. Jason begs to.
I just pinged him. I just pinged him. I just like, hey, how's Amsterdam? Just starting very coy, like, how's it going out there? By the way,
Smooth. So smooth.
yeah,
I love it. He
maybe,
hasn't done me enough favors.
yeah, right. No, just can you ask
One more won't
Aaron
hurt,
to do
Jason.
it? Aaron can do it from the side of the stage.
Oh,
That'd
yeah.
be wonderful. Who's hosting? Do you know?
Kaneko.
Who's MC?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Wait, who?
Kaneko.
Okay.
Kaneko.gif. Is that his name on Twitter? On Shitter?
All right, guys.
All right.
Till next time.
Good to see you
Have fun.
guys. Thanks for waiting around for me.
Keep on rocking in the free world.
See you
Over and out.
soon.
Peace.